I would say humility is probably something I could use a whole lot more of.
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Hulkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC your first listen every day. Whether you're watching me on YouTube or wherever you like to download your podcast, we are free, and I really do appreciate your support. Because we are free and I want more of your support, if you're watching on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that red subscribe button, hit the like button. Both mean a whole heck of a lot to the show. And because Locked On USC will come at you 5 times a week, Monday through Friday, even during the off season when nobody else will, hit that bell notification button and you will not miss an episode. Today's episode is brought to you by Bird Dogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. And when you enter the promo code LockedOnCollege, they're going to throw in a free custom Bird Dogs Yeti style tumbler with every order. And it looks just like this. Really good. Really cool. So while I could always use a extra dose of humility, that is not something that new Trojan commit cornerback Dakoda Fields from Gardena Serra. That's nothing that he needs of. He is full of humility. I got the chance to meet the young man on Wednesday. I headed out to with Scott Schrader from WeAreSC.com, as everybody should know by now. We work together. He's our recruiting guru. But we went out there to kind of check out what's going on with the Cavaliers. They're going through their spring camp right now. I'll explain that, and I'll explain that a little bit better here in a moment. But again, I had the opportunity to meet Dakota after his most recent commitment to USC. I mentioned he's humble. I also like the fact that he watches this show, which caught me by surprise. I was a little bit shocked, but it brought a big smile to my face. So, as I mentioned, he's one of the most humble young men I've ever come across. So, again, I'm not sure if they're calling it spring camp or if it's just camp, but the Serra football team is going through it right now, and they're doing it because they didn't have enough people to do it when schools normally hold spring camp, because a lot of their players were, on the track team, running track, doing field events. So basically they kind of had to adapt. And that's one of the challenges that Serra has compared to other private schools, power private schools like Bosco or Mater Dei. They don't seem to kind of have the same support system that those other two schools have, which is kind of sad in a way. They have a brand new field turf, beautiful, gorgeous. They needed it. If you'd ever been out to their football field, it was literally patches of grass and dirt. So I'm asking. I know that Dakoda Fields watches the show. On the off chance that Robert Woods, Marquise Lee, or any of the former Serra legends help out your old alma mater. And if we're talking about football specifically, help out the weight room. Because, man, it's about the size of the room I'm in right now. And it looks like they have the same weights that I had in my backyard back in the 80s. I can understand why the players at Serra have that chip on their shoulder mentality, and why they are so humble. They know that they have to work harder than maybe their competition. So I asked Dakota, where does he get his humility from? And he said he gets it from his dad. He said his dad calls himself the Roy Jones Sr. because Roy Jones Jr., at least in his dad's eyes, never got the credit for anything, even when he was doing things good. So I found that to be a really interesting perspective from the young man. He also has a really strong support system. His parents, they encouraged him to take his visits, and when he did, to take notes so he can truly understand the pros and cons. When he comes home from the visit, let's sit down with mom and dad. Let's go over everything. Make sure you have clarity of, before you make your decision. On a previous episode, I mentioned that the team chaplains played a role in his choice to go to USC. And he said it's because of the personal touch that they provided during the official visit with he and his family. Because if they're not just developing you at USC to be an athlete or a football player. They're developing the human being also. Again, this young man's got his head screwed on the right way, pointing in the right direction. And not only did I get to talk to him after spring camp, workouts, I also got to watch him, up close and personal, kind of give my own perspective on what I see, my own evaluation. I like what I saw. Number one, he's a really big kid. And I'm not talking so much height. He's about, 6'1", but he's thick, well put together. And when he moves like a skill player, like a cornerback or a wide receiver, but he also moves with power. And he has really strong hands. If you're tooling around on social media, on Twitter, you might see one of the videos that I believe Scott Schrader caught. He snatches the ball out of the air. Kind of like if I was jumping in the air to try and grab an apple off a tree. He's got some really strong hands. And he needs them because he plays wide receiver too at Serra. Going back to what I was talking about, they didn't have enough players earlier in the spring to hold camp. He plays wide receiver because he has to. It's necessary. They have enough players to field a team. They just don't have the quantity of elite players across the board like the other programs that they compete against. The other thing I noticed about Dakota, he uses his body really well to gain leverage. There was one drill he was doing during a special teams practice, and he just used his body perfectly to make sure he got the inside leverage for position to make sure when it was time to make the tackle. So just watching how he uses the field to his advantage, very high IQ. And again, I love the fact that he doesn't think too much of himself. That goes a long way with me. He also told us after practice that after his commitment, he got he heard from a couple of former Trojans, congratulating him, including Adoree Jackson, who was a Serra Cavalier. And he also heard from Dion Bailey. Didn't play at Serra, but he was also excited when Lendale White retweeted his commitment. So found out that Fields' older brother apparently played with Dion in high school. So that would have been at Lakewood High School. And then he did give us a nice little quote after practice. "We got Cali on lockdown. In a few weeks, y'all going to be surprised," end quote. So I'll leave that there for all of you recruiting fans. Good news is upon us, and it's going to be here sooner than you think. He also described Lincoln Riley this way. He's laid back. He's like a people person. He gets along with everybody. So bottom line, this is why Dakota chose USC. He said, all things being equal, when you're comparing football programs, and in this case we're comparing USC and Oregon, what separates USC from the rest essentially is, and I'm gonna tie a bow on it and call it name, image, and likeness. It's the networking with celebrities. He mentioned this. Meeting very important people, networking with, heads of CEO, of companies, the CEOs. And, he'll also be going to school with the kids of these corporate CEOs. And who knows? We know that USC has had a former president have their daughter attend USC. Those types of things are very attractive to young people. So, like I said, Dakoda Fields, USC got an A+. There's a lot more to this young man than just being a really good football player. Benefit. It's what he's going to bring off the field into the locker room. You can tell he's a leader. Talked about it before. They're not just recruiting elite talent. They're looking for high character guys. You can start with this guy right here, Dakoda Fields. Bird dogs. Those things are really comfortable. Let me tell you why. You can wear their shorts or their pants anywhere. They are that versatile. And they're going to make you look good, too, at the same time. They use the Bird Dog stretch khaki shorts. They're designed to fit slimmer. So even if you have those thick thighs, thick legs, they're still going to give you a really nice sculptured contour look, which is nice. And Bird Dog shorts do the exact same thing as Lululemon, but they fit better, way better. So again, if you're looking for another reason not to wear the Lululemon stuff, if you've been paying attention to what's going on, now you got another reason. It fits well, it looks good, and they just feel more comfortable, especially below the belt line. And they use this anti-stink sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. We're going into the summer. So if you like to work out, you can wear these things. You're not going to have to let anybody know that you've been working out, if you catch my drift. So again, super comfy, super cool, and they look good. So all you got to do is go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. You can enter the promo code LockedOnCollege, and you're going to get a free Yeti Bird Dog style tumbler with every single order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. I promise you, they are that comfortable. So according to ESPN, we're going to move on in the show here, as you can see on the rundown. When you factor in USC's high school recruiting class in 2023 and what they did with the transfer portal, USC came away with the #1 overall class in 2023. Congratulations. Everyone wanted USC to have a top 10 class. Well, I think they achieved the goal. Now, when Deuce Robinson, I guess, made the commitment late, that pushed USC's high school recruiting class over that top 10 threshold. They finished #9. But as far as Craig Halbert is concerned at ESPN.com, the Trojans' blend of high-level recruiting and utilizing the portal could propel them into their first playoff appearance. And then he let us know that Miami, Florida State, LSU, and Colorado rounded out the top 5 in ESPN's rankings. Quote, USC inserted players to win now. But unlike the Los Angeles Rams, USC is not built for all or nothing. Returning Heisman winner Caleb Williams, he's talking that we may not even see the Trojans' top signee in the 2023 class. However, #1 quarterback Malachi Nelson does give an elite heir apparent who can benefit from his time to learn and physically develop. He goes on to talk about what USC did through the high school ranks recruiting on defense. ESPN 300 linebacker Tackett Curtis, as well as safety Christian Pierce, are already creating buzz and displaying promising futures. Plus, several portal transfers have limited eligibility, but big additions such as defensive lineman Bear Alexander and Anthony Lucas are coming in off freshman seasons. So they have multiple years to play still at USC. That's what he's talking about. USC isn't just built to win this year. They're built for the future. Excuse me. So when you combine who USC brought in through that high school class, which, you had the number one quarterback, Malachi Nelson. You had the number one wide receiver in Zachariah Branch. You had the number one linebacker on defense in Taka Curtis. And you start filling in all the other ancillary players that they brought in through the high school recruiting. And then when you pile that on with the Bear Alexander, the Anthony Lucas, the Jack Sullivan, the Mason Cobb, and I'm just going to stop there. There's so many more players. The Dorian Singer, the Christian Roland Wallace. I mean, these are impact players. These are players who are going to help USC immediately. What else can we talk about on this episode of Locked on USC? How about Eric Gentry? He's healthier. Let me put that. He's healthier. If you were out on social media, he put out a video, or at least somebody put out a video on Twitter, USC football. He's showing off his surgically repaired ankle, and if you see it, you'll understand what I'm talking about. He's pushing off on it, taking off in a sprint. So he's able to jump on it, put all of his weight bearing on it, push off, run. It's a specifically designed drill to show, hey, look at my ankle, but it's healthy. Look what I can do. So with the summer conditioning session in full swing, all 6'6", 200, and I think he's probably up to 215 pounds now. Again, he posted a video of himself leaping, landing, running. Surgically repaired left ankle, looks to be in good shape. And it's been a while. I mean, remember, he hurt that back at the halfway point of last season when USC was playing at Utah, the first, when they lost their first game of the year. After practice at Serra, we stopped by House of Victory was having their meet and greet. I didn't go in. My back was kind of ailing right now, so I'm a little... Anyways, did find out that Zion Branch is up to 206 pounds, and he said he is ready for fall camp. I believe that means he's been medically cleared. Contact, ready to go. Talking about that, though, this is where I brought up Zion Branch in the safety position. That safety room is getting really crowded. In fact, one of the coaches at Serra asked me who I thought would start at the nickel spot. Is it going to, is it Max Williams? So as far as I know, right now, I don't think anything's changed. I don't think anything's etched in stone either. But immediately the coach said, well, what about Jalen Smith? I said, great question. I said, what about Latrell McCutcheon? He raised his eyebrow. That's another good one. So who is going to be the defender against the tight end? That was one of USC's Achilles heel on defense, especially when they're going up against a first-round draft pick tight end, referring to Mr. Dalton Kincaid at Utah. Notre Dame's going to have another huge guy, running across the middle. Who should play nickelback for USC this year? Is there going to be a package? Is there going to be one guy? Or are they going to utilize guys based on who USC is going up against? Last year, I don't know if they had the pieces to put anybody who could go up against a Dalton Kincaid at that nickel spot. We'll see what happens this season. All right. Before we get out of here for this episode of Locked on USC, keep it a short show for you. Some more odds and end notes. So apparently the Big Ten Conference is going to reveal the new 2024 and 2025 football schedule model that's going to be available on Thursday. So you're watching this episode of Locked On USC first thing Thursday morning. At some point, well, not at some point, 4:30 p.m. Eastern on the big live show on the Big Ten Network on Thursday, June 8th. They're going to reveal the schedule format. Multiple sources are telling The Athletic that the Flex Protect model is the front runner that they're looking at. And what that will do is schools will have 1, 2, or 3 protected annual rivals, and then they will cycle through everyone else. There will be no divisions. So I'm assuming USC's protected rival will be UCLA. Are they going to have 2? Are they going to have 3? We know Notre Dame has to factor in there somewhere, even though they're not a member of the conference. So you've got at least 2 protected games, UCLA and Notre Dame. It's interesting to see who else is going to be part of that category for USC. They're also going to maintain the 9-game league schedule. Although different schools may have a different number of protected annual games depending on how many rivals they have and other scheduling factors. Again, I don't know where USC falls, which category they're falling into, if I'm, looking at these, the way it's being described right now. And apparently, and I'm still trying to understand this because I read that it was merit-based, which I'm not sure, but the Pac-12 members apparently have finalized the conference's grant of rights, according to sources. They've negotiated revenue sharing, sponsorship rights, etc., and all 10 members are ready to sign. I don't know what that means. If you got your deal, announce it. Apparently, it sounds like they're just dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and they're getting ready to make the announcement. We'll see if everybody's on board when they roll this whole thing out. We'll find out. So there you go. Another episode of Locked on USC in the books. I'll be back at you with another one this week. I really enjoyed this episode. I hope you did. I love being able to meet these players and get to know them personally, get a feel for their personality. USC fans, you are going to love Dakoda Fields. And he said he'll come on this show as well. So I'll let you know when that happens. Until that happens, everyone, you know where to find us. Locked on USC 5 times a week. When you're done making this show your first listen, you're going to head on over to wearesc.com. A lot of recruiting information. We've got the team covered. But until the next episode of Locked on USC, everyone, you know what to do.